Hello everyone, my name is Gus.
Hi, I'm Woody.
Today we have, which I don't know if we're gonna break our streak of non-AI videos because the thumbnail appears to be AI. And again, we don't watch these videos ahead of time. We've said this many times. But this is Scary Interesting, which is a channel that we have reacted to in the past. He typically does a really good job narrating. So I think the narration is not AI, but some of the video may be either AI or just stock footage.
Okay. But before you start, I just have a question.
Oh, boy. Okay, here we go.
Can you be open-minded to a question? I value your opinion.
I don't think it
I
matters.
value
You're going
your
to ask
opinion.
it anyway.
Value
So
your opinion.
Go for it.
'Cause you're open-minded and you give me good guidance. On one of the videos, I wore a pair of shoes, and then for some reason you said I should be driving a Subaru. So I went out and I said, okay, I really take to heart, your consultation to me. So I bought new shoes, which now you're gonna respect me. I wear them with long black socks. These are. What should I drive with?
What
these?
is this? Why are we now talking about? Oh God!
Look at the holes. Look at the cushion.
That is daunting.
Look at that. Look at that. Modern.
Oh,
You put some black socks on. You wear those with shorts.
I honestly thought we couldn't get lower than Crocs.
No, come on.
But
Seriously, look at that.
This is worse.
Look how that.
Somehow it's worse than Crocs. I cannot believe I'm saying this.
Look at the.
It's not as bad as soccer, but it's really bad.
Look at the logo. Rider. And I say it that way because that's how I feel when I'm wearing them. I feel that cool. Not just rider.
I know the World Cup is going on right now.
Rider.
I know the World Cup is going
You
on
want
right
some
now.
riders?
But those shoes they almost make me want to watch the World Cup instead of those shoes. But no, I'll
No, don't.
It's not
go
that
that.
bad.
Don't
It's not
do not
that
go
bad.
that far.
It's not
a
that
whole
bad.
game.
It's not that bad.
Okay, because no one's ever you've never done that.
No, those shoes are really bad though.
Rider.
Do you own any shoes that are not horrible?
That's so wrong.
I mean, it's a simple
I mean-
question. Yes or no? No, you don't.
If
Okay,
you
great.
put these on your feet with that air thing like that, you see it.
All right.
You're
Let's get to the video because some people, I guess, went in a cave of death. Every cave is a cave of death. By the way, how
Okay,
come
I'm gonna
everyone
put my
caves dives but us?
riders
That's
down. That's how you have to say it. It's that cool.
You say rider like you're DMZ. Like, what are you?
Because I got me some riders.
Run DMC now.
They're that cool.
Or no, DMX is the one, the Rough Riders.
Sure, white socks or black when I wear
Rough
them.
Rider Anthem.
What would you rather me be in? Because I don't want to upset you. White socks or black socks?
Men's shoes.
Definitely wearing socks, but white or black in shorts.
Men's shoes. You asked me. You asked me. Why would I like for you to?
It's mean. You're
That's
not
not-
nice to me. I mean,
I
your
am
partner.
giving you a compliment.
I'm gonna get you some riders, and
Okay.
then we'll see.
All right,
I mean,
let's watch.
They
Let's
fit
watch.
you.
Let's watch.
On April 14th, 1990, two friends stood at the edge of a beautiful green-blue pond known as Troy Spring in Florida.
Oh, look,
They
this
didn't
guy's
know it
saying
yet,
non-AI
but shortly
generated
after
content
swimming
use.
down to the cave at the bottom, something would go horrifyingly wrong.
Sounds AI.
This is their story, along with a couple of other horrifying cave stories. As always, viewer discretion is strongly advised.
It's gotta be AI.
In the cave diving world, Florida might be best known for its numerous sinkholes, but the state is also home to more freshwater springs than anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
There are more than 700 springs in Florida, and some are
What?
considered really special because of their designation as first magnitude springs.
Dude, we have
They
a
are.
lot of ground
I know,
to
they
cover.
are. It is
How
known.
many caves have we dived in Florida? Should we count them? So Ginny, Little River, Peacock
I'm
Springs.
gonna say no more than 10, but you keep going. I
right.
don't think more than 10.
Genie, Peacock, Cow. No, we haven't done Cow. Genie, Peacock, Little River, Manatee, Jackson Blue, Hole in the Wall, Shangri-La.
The The big one, the deadliest cave.
What's the
Mount Everest of caves?
No, there was another. Yeah, no, Eagle's Nest for sure. But
Nine,
there
and
was
then-
another one that we did.
Remember we did it with Josh.
that area.
Remember we did it with Josh where we had to dig a little to get through.
Yeah, that was.
What's that one
Yeah,
called?
yeah, that was.
Cool. That's
Jog
10.
hole. Jog hole.
That's
So
10.
That's 9.
9.
But no, we have one more in that Mariana area. It's not hole in the wall. What is it? Twin caves. That was 10.
Oh, I said 10.
Let me
I said
think.
not
What
more than
else?
10. Let's see.
What other ones have we done? That's it? That's just 10? In Florida? No. Jackson, not Jackson, Madison Blue, so that's 11.
Oh, how
That's
could
where
we
Rocky
forget
Horror
Madison?
is. I think that's it. That might be it. 11 caves in Florida. And then all the caves in Mexico
I mean,
and
there
the
is that.
Bahamas.
There is that one that. is
Oh,
a
I've done
cavern, the
Blue
training
Grotto.
Zone, but
I've done Blue Grotto, the cave side. That's
Yeah, I
12.
did Blue Grotto cave side, and
Yeah.
then we also did the cave that turns into a little cave tunnel, in that one where you go in those people's backyard. You remember?
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
watched
It's
the
a private
8-track
cave.
tape
Yeah,
as
yeah,
the
yeah.
review.
The
There's
private
there
cave,
is a
that's
cave.
13.
I've been in there.
13. And if you count the bottom of Buford, which is a cave zone, I would say that's
Yeah.
14.
Oh, it's definitely a cave zone.
Yeah. So 14 caves. We have 686 to go. There's a lot of more
Wow.
caves in Florida that we should get to
Wow.
we should get to work.
To make it into this category, a spring has to discharge at least 64 million gallons of water a day, and only a handful of those 700 do. One of these is Troy Spring, located in Florida's Lafayette County.
We have not been
And
there.
Troy Spring not only surpasses that, but it also crushes the mark at 96 million gallons a day. The spring is part of the Floridian aquifer system and connects to several different bodies of water. All of these connections help to distribute water throughout the system, which includes a 325-foot or 99-meter cave-like run. This run is essentially an underwater tunnel where water rushes out from the aquifer with enough force to make it feel like swimming against a fire hose.
I bet.
The run is also located about 70 feet beneath the surface, and because of the current, many of even the world's most experienced cave divers have kept Troy Spring off their to-dive list.
Oh, maybe
In fact,
that's
it's
why.
so rarely visited that most of the system isn't even mapped. On April 14th, 1990, diving Troy Spring was very much on the list of things to do for teenage cousins Clarence and Richard. The two young men had been lifelong best friends in addition to their relation to one another, and
I
they'd
thought he
spend
said
much of their time
non-AI
together either
content was
fishing or
used.
hunting.
This
It's unclear where they got the idea
looks
to
like
dive
AI to
Troy
me.
Spring, but it was a plan they didn't try to keep secret. Anyone they told, however, warned them it was a terrible and extremely dangerous idea. Unfortunately,
This
the
looks
desperate
cool.
pleading of friends and family members wasn't enough to stop them.
Be a
though.
reason we're not.
That Saturday morning,
Hearing
the
about a lot of
cousins
people
drove to
doing it.
Troy Spring with whatever dive gear they had available to them. After suiting up with one air tank each, they entered the spring at around 9:15 a.m. and began their
Oh,
descent.
there's a problem.
Again, in order to
One
reach
tank.
the run portion of the spring, they'd have to dive down to around 70 feet, and once they reached that spot, one of the cousins pulled out a spool of fishing line to use as a guideline. After fixing one end of it to the outside of the run, the two proceeded ahead into the rushing current.
fishing
For a
line?
few moments, everything was going
Heard of
according to plan. The current was extremely strong, and they felt every bit of this force, but the dive was proceeding nicely until they got to about 55 feet inside. That's when one of the cousins' tanks began to free flow its air supply. Under normal circumstances, air will only flow through the regulator when a diver inhales.
Right.
If a regulator starts to free flow, that means it's sending a constant supply of air through the regulator. This can make it feel like you're trying to inhale from a spraying hose.
Yep.
Causes of this can vary from cold water to damaged equipment, but in this case, it was the strong current that caused the tank to change how it was operating.
Yeah, by the way, just for those that don't know, it's a skill. You have to do this in your open water training. How
Yep.
to breathe from a broken, free-flowing regulator. It's not a big deal, by the way. You literally it displaces enough water where you could just sit there and breathe that like you're in the water column. You're just breathing. Imagine I'm holding the regulator and it's so many bubbles. I'm just like, now you're gonna run out of air.
But
That's
before
the
you
problem.
before you hit play, he's talking about why it was free flowing and talking about the flow causing it. What happens is in a lot of regulators, the purge button, which is right here in front where typically the logo of the maker is of the regulator, that is to purge the water out of the regulator with air, with gas, which is, by the way, not recommended. Like I always prefer to do it, but the recommended is you blow. You blow because if there's something stuck in there, you're gonna inhale anyway. But you can clear the regulator with that button. Sometimes those purge buttons are very sensitive, and just the flow of the water will activate it. It happens a lot when we're on a scooter, and sometimes you just see somebody on a rebreather just leaving like a trail of bubbles because the regulator on the tank is positioned in a way that with the speed that you're going with the scooter and the flow of the water, it activates the perch and it's just free flowing.
That's
And
dangerous.
once it starts free flowing, it just keeps going. You don't need as much strength. It just like it wants to keep free flowing.
Well, it's dangerous stuff that happens when you're cave diving on a
Yeah.
scooter because you could end up needing that bailout tank and you reach.
Then you
for it
reach and
there's
it's dead.
nothing. Or
Yeah.
your buddy may need it.
yeah, exactly.
This then caused the diver with the free-flowing tank to begin to panic, which only made the situation worse as the cousins struggled to fix the problem. With the constant spray of gas, it also causes a bunch of bubbles, which can sort of blind a diver. This might seem like it wouldn't be a huge issue, but if you're juggling trying to breathe, being blinded, and swimming against a current, you can see how it would quickly become overwhelming.
Prioritize and execute.
Ordinarily, a diver might then use their partner's octopus, but the other diver with a working tank didn't
partners?
have one.
All right. Hold on one second. Hold on. When you have an issue like this diving, you are taught to prioritize and execute. Priority number one is breathing. So like Woody explained, you learn how to breathe from a free-flowing regulator. And I think you do it. Do you remember the standard? You have to do it for a minute or 30 seconds or whatever? Or is it at the discretion of the instructor? I don't
No.
remember exactly.
No, it's for like 30 seconds. And the reason you're really doing it is to show them how much air they lost in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
In a pool, which could be like 500 PSI. It's to send them the message, hey, you're running out of air quickly.
But the primary skill is also to show them how to breathe from a free-flowing regulator.
course.
Like it's written as breathe from a free-flowing regulator.
Right.
The point is you have a secondary regulator, also known as an octopus, which is the mistake he made. It's like, you could have breathed from your partner's octopus. No, you can breathe from your octopus. If my primary regulator starts free-flowing, you can hold your breath basically for a few seconds, so you can pull it out and hit it or whatever to see if you can get it out of the free flow. If you can't, switch to your backup regulator, at least to prioritize breathing. Then you move away from the regulator. You look around, find your partner, look at your air, like make other decisions. But priority number one is breathe. So breathe from the free flowing regulator just to locate your backup, get rid of it, put your backup on, figure out what to do next. Take it in prioritization. Breathing is number one.
An octopus is basically a second regulator that can be used in the case of an emergency, but without one, the two were left with only one option, which was passing the only working regulator back and forth.
Why? They
As
both
worked
have
to get a hang
two.
of this process, the relentless current inside the run was quickly carrying them back to the entrance. Under the
That's a good
circumstances,
thing.
this might seem like a stroke of luck, but this only served to severely entangle the cousins in their own fishing line. Upon realizing this, the two struggled and pried up the line, trying to free themselves so they could continue toward the surface, but it was quickly growing into a hopeless situation. All the while, being carried by the current, fighting against the line, they became so entangled that the line itself was soon keeping them underwater. More panic then ensued, and soon after, the two drowned together while air was still left
Just
in the working tank.
cut.
At 10:07 a.m., less than an hour after the boys entered Troy Spring, another
have a
diver
knife.
came on their bodies, but there was
Cutting
nothing
device.
he could do to help them. They were already gone.
Unbelievable.
They may not have had a cutting device. I don't know.
That is unbelievable to me.
Especially a fishing line. That's so easy to cut. Cut that right out.
You're not going to pry fishing line, just break it with your hands. It's not like that. But you should have a cutting device. As a matter of fact, I don't remember when it was. I think it was 2019 or so, like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. When I started doing the rebreather training with you, we both switched to multiple ones.
Yeah.
Because if you get entangled in a way that you can't reach the only one you have, that might as well have zero. So
I like
actually,
having the one right here on my dive computer.
I carry
So
two,
easy.
but you could carry 3 or 4. Like, nobody's going to shame you for being prepared. Now, obviously, you don't need to carry 10 cutting devices or whatever. Like, the point is, for me, if one of my extremities is entangled, I can reach a cutting device to free myself. One of them, like Woody said, is on the computer. So on the rebreather computer, we have it on the left arm. Yeah. So on the bands for the computer, you have a cutting device
so
right
easy
here,
to reach.
which you can reach with your right hand. And then I have one on my hip.
Same.
On my right hip, which I can reach with my left hand. So if my right arm is trapped like this, I can reach with my left and pull that cutting device and cut myself.
Same.
If my left arm is tangled, I can reach either my waist or my left and cut myself. So I have two. I don't think you need to have more than that. But if you have 3 because you want to have one near your ankle just in case, cool. Be more prepared. That's okay. But definitely have a way to cut yourself out of line. And everything you have attached on you should be cuttable as well. So like if you have a light or a compass or whatever, it shouldn't be connected with like a bolt snap or metal to metal that you couldn't cut out, because this is what happens. You can drown if the one thing that entangled you and is so tight that you need to cut it, but you can't cut it because you decided to use metal. Like I've seen some of these, I'll see if I can find a picture and I'll put it on the screen. These like bolt snaps that have like aluminum that hold the line for like your octo. So it's like the octo holder is a metal on the line with a metal bolt snap. And like it looks cool, it's fancy, but if you have to cut it out, you can't. So you can cut metal. So
Recovery divers eventually entered the water to retrieve them. They found that the boys were so wrapped up in the fishing line that it took a full 10 minutes to cut them loose.
dang.
It was determined that several circumstances contributed to the tragedy at Troy Spring in 1990, but it was determined that inexperience and a lack of knowledge about cave diving was the main source of them all. The cousins simply didn't understand or appreciate the potential dangers. While it was good that they thought to bring a guideline to aid their dive, fishing line was also an inadequate choice to use in place of a thicker nylon rope.
This is why when people say in the comments especially, why didn't he just bring a line? I cringe. Because line work, and we've talked about this before several times, it's hard. Way harder than it looks. Way harder than you think if you're not a cave diver or trained in line work, like, you know, advanced wreck divers also train in line work. And even in cavern diving, we learn how to do line. So it's not just cave divers. But if you don't have the training, it looks so easy. So easy. You're like, just bring a line. What's the big deal? It's a big deal. I promise.
Yeah, you try laying
It's
that
also
line
believed
in
that both
Jackson
divers may
Blue
have
with a
been suffering from
DPV
nitrogen
at the same time.
No.
In an ordinary
Okay.
cave
See
without
if
the
it's
strong
easy.
current, they may have made it out. But
hard.
taken all together, they were simply too much to overcome.
Yikes.
At 55 years old, Sabine had spent more than 3 decades in the mountains of southeastern France. Since 1989, she worked as a professional instructor in nature sports, guiding others through the outdoors she loves so much. In addition to being a mountain guide, Sabine was a caving and canyoning guide, a cross-country skier, a Nordic hiking instructor, a mountain biker, and even a snowshoeing coach.
So more
In
badass
short,
than both
she had
of
the
us
kind of
combined.
expertise that only comes from a
I'd
lifetime
say.
spent outside. And for 30 years, she had been leading tours into the nearby Kossuth Cave. To her,
How do
this
you
was
say
just
that?
another way to share the world she
Sassanage?
loves so much with others.
Sassanage?
The Kossuth Cave
What do you
was
think,
carved out by
French
the
and
Lizard
Italian
River
at the same
roughly
time?
1.5 million years ago, and its tunnels have been shaped ever since by the flow of underground water. Like most caves, the tunnels are tight and winding with stretches that force visitors to stoop or even crawl. And today, it's open to the public through guided tours that let visitors experience a safe introduction to caving. On the morning of May 5th, 2022,
Oh,
Sabine was
kids,
leading a group
no.
of 5th graders from a nearby middle school.
No, please, no.
She was the team leader that day, guiding alongside 4
it's
other professional
okay.
instructors and a school teacher who had accompanied the class. The students were split into 3 groups, each setting off at staggered times to explore different sections of the cave. Inside the tunnels, the tour moved along as planned as the morning wore on. The students navigated the narrow passages and damp tunnels as Sabine and her fellow guides kept a close watch, but as noon approached, everything changed. The river outside began to surge, and the normally calm and shallow water started to rise much faster than anyone anticipated. Unbeknownst to those inside the cave, this was because of a sudden flash flood triggered by the rain that had been falling outside. That Thursday, there had been more rain than expected, but the conditions were not considered cause for concern. In that region, spring rainfall is common, and the local heavily vegetated terrain usually absorbs excess water without issue. Even to someone as experienced as Sabine or to any of the other guides, there was no reason to expect any danger.
Sometimes there are freak
But
storms,
in
man.
that moment, as
Yeah.
the water began to pour into the tunnel,
I've done some canyoneering in Utah. The problem with flash floods is it can be 10 miles away rain, but it's flash. It literally can flood your canyon out very quickly after that. So it rained 10 miles away. You don't know it rained.
That's what I was about to
And
say.
then all
What
of
you
a
mean
sudden-
by raining
so
10
what-
miles away is you have no idea.
Yeah, so
it looks
so
beautiful
you're-
where you are.
So you're with the guides, right? And what they do, because of the risk of flash flooding when you're canyoneering, slot canyoneering, really dangerous without professionals, is they are obsessive about knowing the weather forecast within like a 20-mile radius. If there's
Wow.
even a remote chance of rain that day, there would be like, no, that doesn't matter. That's in 20. That's like you're in Fort Lauderdale and it's raining in Miami. We can't go today.
Wow.
Right? Because that flash flooding,
It's a risk.
you're in. If flash flooding, it's like fills right up. You're just doomed.
Yeah,
It was
that's
immediately
what
clear
it
they
happened.
had to leave.
Could you wear
The
like
water was
a
climbing fast and literally filling
Can't
the
get
lower
out.
Lifesaver like
passages
this?
It turns into an
dry just
overhead
moments
environment. You
earlier.
drown.
wow? So
In
it's like
caves
tunnels.
the Sassanage, even a
You're
small
in tunnels
increase
where you're
water
slot
can turn
canyoneering that are
walkable tunnels into
open and
currents
now
of rushing water.
flooded.
The first two
Damn.
groups of students were ushered to safety by the time the flood intensified because their guides acted quickly and directed them out through the main passage.
Yeah, they're talking
Every
about
one of them made it out unharmed, but for the third group, the
good.
timing couldn't have been worse. Along with the teacher and two other guides, Sabine stayed behind to ensure the last of the students were accounted for. By that point, just a few minutes later, the current had strengthened and the escape routes were closing off fast. Amid the confusion and noise, one of the fifth graders lost her footing and was caught in the rushing waters. Sabine reacted
so
instantly
bad.
and instinctively to pull the girl back to safety before the water could carry her away. She would manage to grab her and the student survived because of that split-second decision and reaction, but it left Sabine exposed to the full force of the rising stream. Within moments, the situation became uncontrollable. One of Sabine's colleagues watched her struggle against the torrent and then disappear beneath the water.
See?
It
Within
all happened
moments.
so fast that it left no time for an attempted rescue or even to shout a warning. Sabine was just gone, washed away by the floodwaters, while the others moved to take shelter in a higher
Can you
section.
imagine that? That's how fast.
By
guys.
late afternoon,
That-
word
that's
had
what they, when I went, and the guides were saying, you don't understand. It's not like we're going to have a warning. You're going to be in the water, surging, flying, like opening up a dam. Okay?
Wow.
And it's filling up and taking you away. Like, what? Who's setting up ropes to rescue you? You're gone and you drown. Flash flooding is
Very scary.
killer.
reached emergency services that several adults were trapped inside. Around 30 cavers were called in along with firefighters and local authorities. By 11 p.m., the two guides and the teacher had been rescued from the cave, but things had already turned tragic. Just before they were found, Sabine's lifeless body was recovered from one of the lower passages.
Terrible.
Because of her quick reaction and selflessness, every one of the students that she'd been guiding made it out alive, but ultimately it cost her her own life. Today,
That's
she is remembered
terrible.
as a local hero. At 42 years old, Martin, who was better known to his friends as Marcy, was one of Hungary's most skilled and respected divers.
Hungary?
He was a national champion several times over in navigational scuba diving, and on the world stage, he earned silver
was
and bronze medals
competition?
in international competitions.
What?
Never
His
knew.
skills served a much
Competitions
larger
for
purpose than
scuba diving?
competition, though. He was equally at home
I'm
exploring
surprised you
dry
don't
caves
have a
as he
medal
was
in it.
pushing forward Hungary's underwater cave
That's-
research scene.
No, you're
He'd
good
spent
at
years
it.
guy.
exploring
Come on.
I'm
submerged
not
cave
insulting you,
systems
you're good
across
at it.
Hungary, Montenegro, and Bosnia, and his friends even used to tease him about his
Hand
ever
wringing.
careful approach to diving.
Have the
Where other
navigation
divers would spot a clear passage into an unknown and uncharted section of the cave and see opportunity, Marcy would see a reason to stop, go back, and plan before proceeding ahead. So when the phone rang in the office of Andras on the afternoon of Sunday, April 3rd, 2022, he immediately knew that he would not be receiving good news. As the leader of the Hungarian Cave Rescue Service, Andras had taken plenty of calls like this before. From injured cave explorers to trapped and experienced cave divers who went well beyond their means, it was his job to figure out how to produce the best possible outcome. This call was different though.
It's a cool logo though with the bat.
I was actually just thinking, do you have any medals in anything?
Did you know that in New Zealand?
How come you just talk right by my logical question? Do you have some? You have medals in some. I think you have medals in
I'm about to
shooting.
blow your mind.
Oh.
In New Zealand, before humans went to New Zealand, the only mammals in the whole island of New Zealand, which is 2 islands, were bats. Do you know that?
You know, it's just something that I never cared about, even to this day.
That's why
Even
people
to the-
think
even
I
at
have
this moment.
a PhD in New Zealand.
Even at this
I
moment,
don't
after you telling me, I still don't.
have a PhD. But yes, the only mammals in New Zealand before people moved in were bats.
A lot of people care about that. But
Mind
thank you.
blown.
The voice on the other end was tense as it informed him that a diver had gone missing in Kossuth Cave in the hills of Hungary's Entanglement National Park near
Do
the
you think people pick up on those subtle
Don't Google it.
insults that we're throwing at each other when I threw out that even now nobody cares? Or is it just you and I that understand we
Not
just shredded
only-
each other?
Not only they pick him up, but they think we're enemies. Have you read the comments? It's like, I can't watch. They're fighting.
Slovakian border. Earlier that day, a team of highly experienced divers were conducting
Am I the only one who
exploratory
thinks
dive near
that
what was once thought to be the end of the system?
being
in
a
an
good
area
friend
known
is
as
not
Siphon
to
3.
get insulted, but say something
Marcy was
even
among
more
them on the way
insulting
into the
back?
summit, but he
I don't know.
Am I the only one
I don't
like
know.
that?
I could be wrong. And I have
When your
been.
friend insults you, you're supposed to insult them back worse.
Right,
No?
right.
Is that
But
not?
I'm still trying to
how it
understand
works?
if you insulted me regarding my shoes and that whole sort of relationship to Subaru. I'm not sure
That was just facts.
if that was an
like
insult.
my fact about New Zealand, which I love.
Some
by the way. I
people
love New
maybe
Zealand.
are thinking
Absolutely
you were
love
trying
New
to
Zealand.
insult me, but I'm still not clear.
wasn't on the way out. This news hit Andres hard, and he didn't know how to react. Everyone in the diving community knew Marcy, and if he hadn't come back, something was seriously wrong. So within minutes of receiving the call, Andres was on the road juggling phone calls and assembling a team while mentally running through every scenario. Unfortunately, he knew the odds weren't in Marcy's favor. He had been underwater for hours by then, far past any realistic survival window, so the best that Andres could hope for was that Marcy had found an air-filled pocket on the other side of Siphon 3.
Hope.
By the time he arrived at Kossuth Cave around 11 p.m., the area was already crawling with rescuers and support teams. Within minutes of the alert going out, the country's best were already on their way. Hungary has 3 separate cave rescue organizations, and all 3
Wow.
immediately came together for this one.
That's awesome.
Tents were being set up, gear was in the process of being sorted, medical teams were forming, and some rescuers were even inside the cave assessing the situation from the dry areas as they
Is Hungary the one where you want to take me cave diving? It's like my kind of cave. It's like 90 degrees under the city.
Yes.
A
Budapest.
90-degree cave under the city.
Budapest.
I'm absolutely want to be in that one.
Budapest is amazing, dude. By the way,
Budapest,
Ah.
it's like a wetsuit cave diving. Oh, in general.
in general, like the city itself
Really?
is so full of history. It's amazing.
'Cause
Everything
you're
is
in-
just
Yeah, you're pretty good with that history stuff. Castles and stuff like that. Cool.
yeah.
waited for
I am.
orders.
I don't know.
As soon as
I mean, you're
I-
saying
I
it as
said
a
you're-
snarky way, but
No,
no,
I-
I
that's
try
not-
to learn.
I can't even give you a compliment anymore.
I'm not.
You're
I'm
pretty
just-
good with history and stuff.
I am.
I even
Thank
said
you.
and stuff.
Thank you.
No problem.
Do you
he
know?
exited his vehicle, Andres took charge of
Go
it.
ahead. I didn't mean to
I
interrupt
was
you.
gonna give you a
I
fact.
thought
that
maybe
is-
we would want to
it's
watch the rest
related
of the
to this.
video.
Do you know? Can you name the only U.S. president who served as a vice president and a president and never won an election, and served both as vice president and president without winning an election?
That was that Ford?
Yes. Wow.
Because
I
I think
am-
what happened is
Color me impressed. Gerald Ford. You were like 50 when that happened, but it was cool. I think
No,
that's why you remember.
I remember what happened. That was that was Watergate related. Nixon, I think. And what happened is he was
Correct.
the vice president. Nixon, before being impeached, he was going to be the fully impeached, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Resigned, and then he became president, but then he did not win the election after
Correct.
that. And after him, was it Reagan? Did Reagan beat him?
Dude, you're killing it.
Yeah, that was like yesterday for me.
Exactly.
Logistics, making sure the divers who knew the cave best, particularly
wasn't
the
born,
area
but
in and
yeah.
around Siphon 3, had everything they needed.
So do you think I have a lot of knowledge in general now? Let's
no.
keep. No? Okay.
Fortunately, though, there weren't many who fit that bill. In fact, you could count them on one hand, and Marcy was among them. Among the others were 2 veteran divers, Victor and Andres.
No one's following this.
With
after
more than
what the
25 years of
interruptions
diving
we did on
experience,
this one.
Victor had been
I'm
Marcy's
barely
friend
hanging
and
on.
dive partner on countless expeditions. The 2 of them were the only people to
What's
have reached
going
the
on
farthest
here? I
part
don't-
of Siphon 3, and now
Somebody
Victor
died
would be the
yet,
one
or
going
no?
back in to
Oh, they
find
haven't
his
found
lost
them.
Standard
partner.
go into a cave and
That,
to
however, would have to
rescue.
wait until the next day.
I see.
Organizing cave rescues takes time, especially in a cave as
That's true.
complex and challenging as Kossuth.
That's true.
Located on the edge of a small Hungarian village, Kossuth Cave is one of the country's most preserved and fascinating natural
Go
systems.
to Budapest.
The cave was first
Oh,
discovered
really?
in 1956
I'm
when a
in.
team of researchers managed to reach the entrance to what became known as the Dry Passage. During that first exploration, they stopped when they made it to the water-filled section ominously
Do
called
we have any
the Hopeless
followers,
Siphon.
subscribers from Budapest?
Beyond
would
that, the
invi-
passage
have,
completely
would
disappears
wa-
in the
I
invite
think
water.
us?
so.
Inside, the cave
hope
stream
so.
also flows from the siphon through the dry tunnel toward the entrance, pooling into a small lake along the way. And today, the map portion of the system stretches roughly 4,921 feet or 1,500 meters, and
Wow.
drops about 171
10,000
feet
feet
or
almost.
52 meters vertical.
By the way, yeah, we're gonna get shredded for all the pauses. I have a question that I just thought of that I'm saving for the very end of the video. So they're gonna have to watch. So I can ask you this question at the very end. It's a very important question.
Judging
I
by
just
the fact
thought
that
of
it's
it,
your question,
you've got
I'm
to-
sure it will be
No,
very
I
smart
have to know.
and interesting.
I have to know from you.
All right, let's do it.
For decades after the discovery, the hopeless siphon marked the known limit of exploration as no one had successfully passed it, despite repeated efforts that continued into the early 2000s. The Amphora Diving Club spent years widening tunnels and installing guidelines in hopes that one day they'd reach further into the system. And that day finally came in 2009 when they managed to get through the hopeless siphon and emerged into a vast chamber they named Our Father's Hall.
Wow.
This chamber ended in another water-filled section, and to move forward, divers had to squeeze through an even tighter underwater passage known as Siphon 2.
Yeah, that looks tiny.
This led them to another narrow air pocket, and from there into Siphon 3.
By the way, it's siphons. I
last
mean, I'm
one second.
surprised you're not pausing on this, right? Because that's pretty important.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before, but we never know. We have a lot of new subscribers. The reason a siphon is so extremely dangerous for cave diving is already dangerous. We've acknowledged that all the time.
Yeah.
Now you add a siphon is because, just think about it. A siphon is making it difficult to exit the cave, right? It's exactly the opposite of what you want. You want it difficult to swim into the cave and the water's shooting you out in case you got to get out fast, right?
Yeah.
But imagine on your exit if the water is
Trying to pull
incoming
you
and
in.
you're trying to go and you can't get out. You're already in an emergency trying to get out.
Yeah.
And now you're going against a siphon trying to get out. Plus that water, bringing you into the cave may be too fast. So I think there are certain passages in some of the Florida caves that can siphon, but I don't think I've done full siphon cave diving unless you and I did that a little bit with an ocean dive because of the change in the tide.
Yep, it was
Didn't
a
we
little
have
bit
a
of a
siphon?
siphon, but
Remember?
very, very slight.
Yes,
it
but
wasn't
it
that
was.
much. But it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Descended to a depth of 157 feet or 48 meters, and it was here that something happened to Marcy. Snow still covered the ground outside Kossuth Cave on Monday, April 4th, as rescuers huddled near the entrance and final checks were made on the dive gear. At 4:02 p.m., Victor and Andres descended into the dark cave waters and began to head towards Siphon 3. The plan was to swim to the far end of Siphon 3, assess the situation, and search for any signs of Marcy.
That whole
But the
thing
passage
is a
was
siphon.
narrow, visibility was near zero, and the temperature of the water was close to freezing. On the surface, the support team waited as the minutes dragged on for almost an hour when Victor and Andres resurfaced. Victor then reported that he reached the end of the passage, but there wasn't much left of it. The tunnel at Siphon 3 was completely blocked, filled in with collapsed clay and rock debris, and there was no getting past it.
Oh, no.
Even the guide rope that had once cleanly run through the area was now
going through
buried,
the
and there
wall.
was no safe way forward. Following their dive, rescue organizers gathered around a laptop as Victor reviewed the footage from his helmet camera. The video showed just how murky things were near the collapse, but it unmistakably showed a wall of debris where the tunnel should have been. As they paused and rewound the footage countless times, someone noticed something metallic in one corner of the frame, and once it was pointed out, they determined it was likely the edge of a scuba tank. Right away upon making this discovery, the mood in the room shifted. If that was one of Marcy's
She got
tanks, then he
trapped.
might have left it behind and made it through the collapse to an air pocket on the other side. This optimism, however, came from complete uncertainty. No one could say for sure that what they were seeing was one of Marcy's tanks, and even if it was, there was no guarantee it was a sign he was still alive. By nightfall, a new plan formed to get clear footage of the debris and the object that looked like a tank.
Yeah, you gotta go.
That plan came to life the following afternoon, and by 5 p.m., Victor and Andres were ready to re-enter Kossuth Cave. Once again, the two disappeared into the water as the support team watched, but just 26 minutes later, Andres resurfaced. He was cold and breathing hard, and once he collected himself, he informed the team he couldn't find a way through Siphon 3. Victor, however, did, and he actually continued on as the rest of the team continued to wait for nearly another hour for him to return. When he finally emerged from the underwater sections of the cave, no one spoke a word. Victor then pulled off his mask and sat there for a moment, catching his breath as every eye in the cave rested on him. The look on his face said it all. Victor had found Marcy, and he was dead. Marcy was about 98 feet or 30 meters into Siphon 3, just beyond the collapsed section. Victor had followed the guideline as far as he could, and there, through the haze of rock and floating sediment, he spotted Marcy's body. The missing diver was still in his full gear and caught in the narrowest part of the tunnel.
It's really bad.
From the position of his body and his equipment, it looked like he had been on his way out of the cave when disaster struck. Outside the entrance of Kossuth Cave, rescuers embraced while others stood silently, trying to digest the horrible news that was making its way around. At that moment, the operation shifted from rescue to recovery. In the days that followed, once the initial shock faded and the divers got some rest, rescuers turned their attention to understanding what might have gone wrong. The team reviewed dive logs, footage, verbal accounts, and every small piece of data gathered from the collapse section. Little by little, a picture of what happened to Marcy began to form, and organizers could put together a theory of what most likely happened. What they determined was that Marcy was working carefully and methodically, as he always had at the end of Siphon 3. His last recorded movements showed that he had advanced a few feet beyond the previously explored end of the siphon, and there he attached the guide rope to a new anchor point. This was a routine part of extending the mapped route.
Yeah.
Visibility at the time was poor, but not unusually so, and certainly presented nothing beyond Marcy's abilities and experience. Once the line was secured to the anchor point, he began turning back toward the exit, and that's when everything changed. At some point during his return, a section of clay and rock from the tunnel's ceiling gave way. Divers who examined the site found compacted sediment on top of the guideline and signs that the material had fallen from above. No one could say for certain whether Marcy was struck directly or became trapped by the debris, but it was possible that he died instantly when the collapse occurred. It's also possible that he survived for a short time and was unable to free himself as his air supply slowly dwindled to nothing. Unfortunately,
can you imagine if we were doing that, how frigging freaked at first we would be? Imagine together we went exploring and we go back and we're like,
sealed.
I'm writing you a note, dude. This thing collapsed. We would have to try our absolute best. Like, okay, chill. We've got to think really hard together right now, Gus. I mean, let's first try. Let's see if we can move some rocks. I mean, we would have to really struggle to stay calm.
Yeah, or try to go over
but
sometimes.
You're scared at that moment.
I don't know if you've been in situations in the past where you feel like this may collapse. I've been in two, both in Mexico, both in the same cave. And it wasn't at El Diablo, surprisingly.
Oh, I thought that's what you were
It was at Chuha, Cenote Chuha. So the first time I was with Randall, I think both times I was with Randall, we were laying line, and there was a hole in the wall that looked like it was about to collapse. And what gave it away was there were like stalagmites around the wall, and when I went down to see if I could fit through this hole or what's the best way to get through it, I put my hand on a stalactite and it broke. Like, I didn't even push it hard. I just, like this bottle of Gatorade, I just did like this and it just gave away and it crashed. So I'm like, oh, so this is like super brittle stuff. And then I look above the hole and I'm like, this ceiling looks like if I kick it or I hit it, it's going to collapse on me. But that was the way to go. Like, the way I was going lane line, it seems like the cave keeps going that way. So I go in, I look at it, this thing breaks, and I just turn around and I tell Randall, okay, I'm going. And I realized that the best way to do it was to go in on my back. So I go in this hole, I turn around, and I start going in, and I am looking at the ceiling, and I'm like, if this thing collapses in my head, in my face, maybe Randall can pull me out by my feet as long as I can still breathe. If it collapses like halfway point, like I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like, this is going to be bad. So I go in and I start wiggling in through this hole. And all of a sudden, like the spool that I'm laying, again, this is Virgin Cave, falls out of my hand. Now, luckily, because I'm in this hole, it just falls next to me.
Okay, but still.
So I'm like, just like reaching like this and just grab it. And keep on wiggling, make it to the other side. And the funny part is, so the cave didn't collapse, obviously. The funny part is when I make it to the other side, my first thought, after I find a little stalagmite or whatever to tie and give Randall the okay with the light, is this is going to suck to survey this thing. Because I just went in, I'm not worried about azimuths and L ruts and none of that. I'm just laying line.
Surveying it is
right. So I'm like, this is going to suck to survey by Randall. But, man, to his credit, and Randall is bigger than me, to his credit, he went through that hole and surveyed that thing.
He's really good.
Yeah. And the second part was we get to the end of line, and the tunnel, it just keeps on narrowing down like vertically like this. And then I see a stalactite, and the line is tight, and that was the end of it. But I see the tunnel keeps going, but it's very narrow. Now, as I start pushing through, I tie to the end of line and I keep pushing. I am crawling through mud. Like my back and my front is just like in the mud. And I'm just going through, and like 20 feet into my crawl of just crawling through mud, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to suck for Randall because it's zero vis. Behind me is zero vis.
Zero.
I see the roots of the trees above me. That's how shallow it was. So it was like, I don't know, like 6 feet deep or 7 feet deep or something. When I was doing this thing, that's like 2 meters. So I'm just thinking like, okay, so there's 2 meters of ground above me.
Mm-hmm.
How thin is, you know how
Thin.
sinkholes happen?
Yes.
They just happen out of,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I'm like, what root am I going to hit with my head or something?
Yeah, it's like the sidewalk going to fall in on your head. above you.
That's going to be the end of it
I
and
don't
collapse
like it.
on
I
me.
don't know, man.
So
Sketchy.
yeah, so I just kept crawling and crawling and crawling. At some point, it was like a double siphon or whatever, where it got tiny and then it opened up in the other. So it was like a pile or something. So I make it to the other side. It opened back again. Continue to lay my line, and once again, I'm like, that's gonna suck to survey because it's zero vis back then.
I know. I mean, I remember I said I did that
Luckily-
once with you on that little
Luckily,
rectangle area you found, and I was seeing nothing, and I was in the halocline, like you said. It's
Luckily,
terrible.
I ran. Eventually, I just kept swimming and laying line, and eventually I ran into another line, like in the cave. So I didn't have to go back through that mess.
Oh.
So I found the line with some arrows, and we just followed it to the exit. So I made a circuit, basically. But those were the 2 times where I thought, this can collapse on me. This may collapse. And we get questions once in a while from people like, are you afraid when you're cave diving? Like, what do you do if this happens? What do you do if that happens? And the honest truth is, we prepare for most emergencies when it comes to cave diving. Like, we prepare for the rebreather completely failing. We prepare for, like, our buddy runs out of air. We prepare, like, there's a lot of things we prepare for. We have 2 masks. We have 2, like, we bring a lot of redundancy, 3 lights or 4 lights. There's a lot of redundancy, but we're not prepared for everything. And when you're going in a cave, especially exploring like we did in Mexico, you are understanding that this thing may collapse and bury me alive and I'll die today. Like, I understand that. I cannot be prepared for everything.
That's why we say cave exploration's another level of risk.
Yeah, you
compared
go
to-
in and you're like, if
No
it
one's ever been in
collapses and
there.
you die, that's your day. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Evidence that experts had available couldn't answer that part. What rescuers did know was that Marcy did not cause the accident. His equipment was in perfect condition and he did everything inside Siphon 3 by the book. The dive was well within his capabilities, and he had been his usual cautious self while
That's what
executing
you just
further
said. It was
of the
his day,
guideline.
right? It
The
collapsed.
tragedy
Your
was
day.
simply a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
There you go.
Planning for the retrieval of Marcy's body began immediately, and those preparations were complete by Thursday, April 7th. 7 divers then descended into the hopeless sump to act as support, while Victor and Andres went deeper, returning to the farthest reaches of Siphon 3. The next day, Andres reached Marcy's body and began preparing it. He placed a black bag over Marcy's head and carefully removed his remaining equipment. He then secured his limbs tightly to his body to make transport possible before guiding him upward a few feet at a time.
Yeah.
Victor then took over the next phase and brought Marcy to a point just below the siphon entrance. On Saturday, April 9th, the team continued the painstaking work of moving Marcy's body through the underwater tunnels and finally reached our father's hall. It wouldn't be until 10:29 a.m. on Sunday that Andres entered the water for the final stage. When he resurfaced hours later, Marcy's body was with him and onto dry land for the first time in a week. When his body was finally out of the cave, all the rescuers lined up in formation and bowed their heads as the sound of sirens blared for 1 minute to honor Marcy. On April 29th, an official memorial service was held for Marcy in Budapest with more than 300 people in attendance. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching.
Those are tough situations.
Tough situations. I feel bad, of course, because that was his day. But, you know, I made peace with it. Like, I don't know how, I think everybody handles, like, that stuff, the dangers of cave diving and cave exploring differently. I made peace with it. The way I think about it is, and this may be the wrong thing, and you people watching, you're going to criticize me, so be it. But the way I think about it is, if I'm ever cave exploring, looking at a cave that no human has ever seen, and this thing collapses on me and kills me, is that worse than suffering in bed for 10 years with some disease and dying of pain over time and being a burden to your family. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear you. I'm a little
I
bit
don't know.
different. I definitely don't want anything to happen when we're cave diving.
of course.
I
Me
don't.
neither.
I go into these thinking we're gonna do this and we're gonna be okay. We can
course.
take care of each other every time. I do not go into it thinking this. I'm probably like, there's a high
No.
chance of death.
Never.
I don't ever have that mindset,
Never.
or I don't go in.
Never.
I don't do it. If I feel like, man, there's something telling me this is really gonna kill me, I just don't do it.
Never.
And I don't really do much of this kind of exploration stuff without being with experts.
Yeah.
You and I, we did a little bit finally after a few days doing it with people who do it all the time in El Diablo, and it was fun. But anyway, that's my mindset. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I did say I can you without just going into full insight mode. I remember I really do need just
I'm
breathe in.
breathing.
I need guidance.
I'm bracing for this.
So I want to know if you have to, because this is the ones I'm going to wear. There is no I wouldn't do either. I'm taking that. You have to pick one. Which ones do you think I should wear? The riders? Or should I be a Brazilian cowboy? You have to choose one. I need to know. I want to do. I don't want to upset you anymore, and I want to look my best. You have to riders. Or look at the bottom. What it has like a cow. Which ones? You have to wear one.
The last time Woody and I
You
went
must.
cave exploring was in Mexico, and we recorded an episode at El Diablo, which was great because we started the day by me telling Woody it was going to be a chill dive, super relaxing, finally after like a week of hard work, and it was the complete opposite, but it was fun. So I'm going to leave it right here. My favorite cave I've ever lay line at, El Diablo. It's awesome.
It was fun. I got to tell you, the riders are really comfortable.
Don't come back to this house and this studio wearing anything like that.
You didn't answer my question. Bye, everybody.